America's biggest meat producer, meantime, Tyson Foods halting production at its beef facility in Washington state after several people tested positive for the virus and one died. This comes a day after Tyson closed big pork plants in Iowa and Indiana. Reports say there have been more than 100 COVID-19 cases at each. Tyson Foods CFO Stewart Glendinning joins us this evening. Stewart, welcome. It's great to have your voice on our program tonight.
Scott, thanks very much.
Can you tell us what the very latest is?
Well, look, first, I just love to say a huge thank you to the 100,000-plus team members who are keeping the food supply going. The latest news from us today, of course, was the closure of one of our plants in Washington. That we've taken out of an abundance of care for our employees. Taking care of our employees is job number one for us.
You're testing 1,400 employees for the virus. When do you expect to get the results?
It'll be a number of days. What is important is what we're doing for our employees across the nation. Remember, we have more than 140 plants. We've had to close 3 of them. Most of our plants, because of the precautions we're taking, are COVID-free.
We mentioned the ones in Iowa and Indiana. That was the largest pork-producing facility. Making sure people understand what we're talking about here with this facility in Washington state. Produced enough beef there in one day to feed 4 million people. We're worried about our food supply for obvious reasons. Should we be more worried about that this evening, Stewart?
Well, I would say, look, there's no need for panic. Interestingly enough, a plant in our network that feeds 4 million people is actually a small plant. We feed a big portion of the nation, and we're very focused on making that happen every day safely for our employees. I will tell you that if you consider the plants in the industry that have already been closed, and you look at the public data from our USDA, you will see that pork and beef processing are down somewhere between 20 and 30%. So that's a pretty big impact, I would say, on the supply chain of food.
What's the likelihood of even more closings?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, certainly in our facilities, we are taking a huge number of precautions. Temperature reading. We spent millions of dollars on thermal scanners. We have created social distancing between people. We've put up protective barriers, facial coverings, staggered the shifts. I mean, we're doing an enormous number of things to try to make sure that our people stay safe, and that's where we're going to focus.
What happens if one of the tests comes back positive of the 1,400 that are being taken? What steps will you take at that point?
Well, any of our employees who are sick, I just want you to know that right from the early days, we changed our benefit structure to make sure that people who feel ill or who test positive for the virus know that they're going to stay home and they're going to be paid. If somebody tests positive, that won't be any different than somebody testing positive in the community. Of course, they're going to be well looked after, and we're going to be paying them while they recover. You
mentioned the precautions that you're taking. I'm not sure people realize you chartered a plane in Asia to bring back personal protective equipment for your workers. Is that right?
Yeah, thank you for that, Scott. Early on, we recognized that facial coverings were very important. This was before the CDC gave us advice. And it was difficult to get facial coverings. We literally scoured the planet to find them. And at the point where we realized that we just couldn't get them here by ship, it would take too long. We chartered a plane in order to get the face masks back to us. Understand, we need millions of face masks. We have more than 100,000 employees out there who require them.
You think your workers are afraid to come to work now that you're testing 1,400 people? I'm just wondering what you're doing if some want to stay home, either because they are sick or they're in fear that they may get sick.
Yeah, I mean, we've been really focused on reassuring our employees, and that starts with the precautions we've taken to keep them safe and to ensure that we're not transmitting the virus in our facilities. We also have given employees the hotlines so that they can report conditions that they think ought to be taken care of immediately, and of course we're acting on those. So I think we're doing all of the things possible to make sure that employees feel confident and comfortable coming to our facilities. You mentioned the personal protective equipment. You've also brought in 150 infrared temperature scanners. You're taking everybody's temperature as they come in? Yeah, the kind of scanners we're talking about here are not just, sort of simple scanners. These are the kinds of scanners you'll see at international airports that are capable of scanning quickly large groups of people. They cost a lot of money, and they provide a great deal of assurance around making sure that people who are sick are not coming into our facilities.
Well, America appreciates what you all are doing. That's for certain, keeping that food supply going. Stewart, we'll talk to you soon. Best to you and your employees.